This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored today by Dexcom and Omnipod. You can go to myomnipod.com/juicebox right now to get a free, no-obligation demo pod sent directly to your door. And go to dexcom.com/juicebox to get started today on the Dexcom G6 continuous glucose monitor. If you can't remember those links, don't worry. You can find them at juiceboxpodcast.com or right there in your podcast player show notes. Hello and welcome to episode 213 of the Juicebox Podcast. I did not expect to be bringing you this episode today, but when Dexcom called last night to tell me the new G6 mobile app was going to be released in a couple of hours, I thought I need to get Jake Leach on from Dexcom so we can go over the upgrade and see what's there. Not only are we going to be talking about the additions to the G6 mobile app, we're going to talk about the timelines for the Dexcom G7, you heard me right, Health Canada's approval for G6, and a couple other little tidbits that Jake has thrown in. When you're done here today, you'll understand everything that's coming in the new upgrade, you'll know when your Android app is going to be available, and you're going to be practicing your Hey Siri. Please remember that nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise, and to always consult a physician before becoming bold with insulin or making any changes to your healthcare plan.
Hey, Scott.
Jake, how are you, sir?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm excited about the new G6 mobile. That's how I am. I know you're short on time, so I'll jump right in. Arden and I downloaded the update last night, which is 1.4.0. Is that right?
That's right. Version 1.4.0.
And that's of the G6 mobile app. Have any other apps
That's right.
Were any other apps updated last night or are going to be soon?
Yeah, so that was the G6 app for iOS, and that was updated. It went live in the store yesterday, February 27th, and we have the updates to the G6 Android app that will also be hitting the Play Store very soon. It's targeted to be right around the same time as the iOS. The iOS one first, Android will be very soon.
So even today being February 28th, I think, just days from now, you think it should be up in the Google Play Store?
Yeah, it probably won't be up, today, but it'll be in the real near distant future. We're just basically doing a couple of final tests on it, but it has the same general features as the 1.4. It obviously, Android doesn't have the unique Siri feature that comes with iOS, but it does have some of the other features. As well as a new feature where we're sharing data with Google Fit on the Android platform, so that other apps similar to the way HealthKit works on iOS, on the Android version, we'll have the Fit database. If a user selects, they can share their retrospective CGM readings with another app on the phone. So encouraging developers to develop apps that consume the Dexcom CGM data and give users a even better experience.
I always love that thinking. And there's I'm seeing in the notes here a 3-hour delay for the information to go from the Dexcom into the Google Fit. That's pretty standard though. Does the Health app have the same delay on the Apple side?
It's exactly right. Yeah, it's retrospective information, so it's 3 hours delayed. That was the kind of agreement we got to with the FDA a number of years ago on the two different classifications. The idea is that the retrospective data can't be used for a therapy decision-making in real time, like such as how much insulin to take. So it has a lower level of regulatory oversight, and so the FDA was kind of comfortable with us putting that data in HealthKit, where basically any app that the user selects, they have to authorize it, but they can authorize any app that's able to consume that data to consume it and do offer a unique experience around it.
Right. So we're hoping developers jump in and try to take advantage of that.
Yeah, we've had HealthKit's been enabled on the iPhone for quite a while through the G6 and even the G5 apps. And on the Android platform, we have S Health, which is developed by Samsung, but is available on all Android devices. We've been using that database, and now we're adding the Google Fit database as another option for sharing.
All right, so I'm seeing a handful of new features in the app. I'm going to start with what I'm going to consider to be the slightly less exciting ones first, but I do want to understand.
Of course.
So you can submit a technical support inquiry through the mobile app. I mean, what's an example of something I might want to submit through that?
So the technical support, send to technical support feature has been in the app for a while. The unique thing about the new feature is that it pops you into a browser, which allows you to select the issue that you're experiencing. So, for example, if you're having signal loss, an issue with the connectivity, some users do run into that, and our technical support has quite a few things that they can work with the user to resolve that issue. And so that would be a nice example. You can select that and then send it in tech support. And so it's easier for the user to describe in terms that our tech support will understand quickly. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of basically it's about facilitating the technical support conversation with this send to technical support.
How does the back and forth happen then? Do I receive an email back for you, or does it happen within the app?
It's generally a phone call. Will result after you send it in. Sometimes we do over email as well, but the real idea is, hey, I'm having an issue, I need some help, and to help facilitate that and make it easier.
Great. Okay. And then you don't have to go to a Facebook page and wait for someone like me to come in and explain it the 9,000th time I've said it, and it starts coming out in my typing where I'm dropping words. And I once just said to somebody, just cycle the Bluetooth. Then that launched me into a problem where I had to explain what I meant by cycling the Bluetooth, which then made me think, Jake, why did I do this? I should have just minded my own business. Okay, so now within the app, there's a button to launch Clarity. So there's still two separate apps, though, correct? But I can be in my mobile app, and then is it only on the 24-hour view that link is there, or is it somewhere else that I'm not seeing it?
It's in two places. So you're right, in the landscape mode, when you turn the phone sideways and shifts, it shows you the more detailed information in the 24-hour view. In the top right corner, there's a little icon that has it's a Clarity link icon. So you click on that, and it launches you automatically into the Clarity app. If Clarity's not installed on the user's phone, mm-hmm. It'll redirect them to the store, either the App Store for iOS or the Play Store for Google, and prompt them to download that Clarity app.
Okay.
So it is on the landscape screen. It's also in the event screen. So when you go to enter events down below on the menu in there, mm-hmm. There's also the Clarity link button in there.
I'm going to just say that I adore the Clarity app, and there are days and weeks and months where I think that my daughter doesn't even need to go to an endocrinologist anymore because I have that app, which is obviously a stretch, but it has so much information. It really makes me feel like I know what's going on kind of behind the scenes with her blood sugars. That's how when the nurse walks in the room and says, "Oh, we know what your A1C is," I'm always like, "Oh, I know what our average blood sugar is. I figured it out. Is it this?" And I guess, and it's incredibly accurate for Arden. So it's a great app. If you don't have it, absolutely check it out. And now you'll be able to bounce back and forth between your mobile app and Clarity app with a touch of a button, which is excellent. Apple Watch Series 4 face complications. Did you add 2, or are there more and I'm not seeing them?
So with the new Series 4 has the more round complication features.
Yep.
So in the different Series 4 watch faces, they have places for you to add your complications. So we've added the round one that's compatible with that watch. So that's a unique one that's only for Series 4. So it has that level of compatibility. It shows the arrow and the number, trend arrow number on the watch face. So nice feature. Kind of, we expect to bring more. That was our first one. We're starting with the simple round complication, but we have others that are now capable on that platform. We're experimenting with a trend graph complication that's a rectangular trend complication now you can add. So we're working on those, but in this release we've introduced the first one, which is the around one.
And this is live view. It's my blood sugar number right there, not just touching it to open up the Dexcom app.
Correct. Yeah, it's your live value.
And is that for just the wearer, like for the person with diabetes wearing the transmitter, or can that be for a follow watch as well?
It's not yet. We are in the midst of doing a refresh of the Follow app. Quite a few updates to the Follow app, but right now for this release, it's this features for the user of the CGM, the personal device.
Okay. I won't hold you to. I'm not going to ask you how long till I get a new Follow app, but just cough if it's in like the next few months or something like that.
It will be. There'll be a steady stream of updates, but there will be one coming soon.
2019, the year of the app. I love it. Expiration. So now I can get a 24-hour sensor expiration reminder. It'll happen automatically. Is it user definable? Can I shut it off, or is it always on?
Great question, Scott. So it's this was feedback from our users about the having the 10-day sensor. They wanted a reminder, 24 hours in advance of when that sensor is going to expire, so that they're sure to be ready to switch the sensor out when it does expire. Yeah. And so it works just like the 6-hour and 3-hour warning, but it just happens at 24 hours. The user doesn't have to do anything; it's just automatic.
Is that going to exist on the Follow app when it comes out? Are you able to say? Because here's what that features in our backlog of items to implement. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be in the near future, but that's definitely one of the features that we want to put in there. It's a great use case where a parent wants to know, hey, when does that sensor need to be replaced, and you'll be able to see it from within the Follow app, not just on the user's app. Yeah, that's a great idea. I see two things happen with us. First of all, Arden will get the 2-hour or the 6-hour reminder that existed prior to this one, and she clears it out so quickly, she doesn't even know what it said. So I was going to suggest if maybe a cartoon hammer could come out of the phone and just like donk her on the head and yell, "Tell your dad this." That would be really helpful, because then later I'm like, "Hey, the CGM says it's expiring, and didn't it warn you?" And she goes, "Oh, is that what that was?" And I was like, "Yeah, that must have been." But yeah, anything, maybe even just somebody could grab her and say, now would be a good time to stop, focus for a second, and remind someone that you've gotten this alarm. But yeah, all that kind of stuff on the Follow would be fantastic. Okay, so you guys have expanded share functionality in regards to how many followers we can have. How many can I have now? It used to be 5. I just had a very interesting experience last weekend. I was somewhere speaking, and outside of the conference room I spoke in, there were vendors, and they all had insulin pumps and glucose monitors and stuff like that. Now, this event had a lot of newly diagnosed or newer diagnosed people living with type 1 diabetes. And I watched a number of them hold up these insulin pumps from other companies at the table with all this tubing on it. And you could see on their face, they were like, what am I going to do with this? But when those same people made it over to the Omnipod table and they just held this tiny little pump in their hand, and that was it. It was all self-contained, this little pod. When the people behind the table explained to them that, you don't have any tubing with an Omnipod, you'll just wear it on your body and that's it. There's this handheld controller that, you tell it how much insulin you want. Set a temp basal rate maybe, or start a bolus. When they realized that that controller wasn't attached to the pump, that they weren't going to have to wear tubing hidden in their clothing, just this beautiful feeling of comfort came over their face. They were smiling. At the other tables, grimaces and, oh, what is this thing? But at the Omnipod table, everything seemed hopeful and happy. I am not making this up. This is my honest-to-God evaluation of what I was seeing happening in the room. And those people all left with what? A free, no-obligation demo of the Omnipod. They had them right there. They took them home. Now, I don't have one to hand you, but if you go to myomnipod.com/juicebox, you can have a free, no-obligation demo pod sent to you right now. If you're considering insulin pump therapy or switching pumps, the best way to understand the comfort and convenience of Omnipod is to try a free, no-obligation demo today. myomnipod.com/juicebox, or the links in your show notes, or at juiceboxpodcast.com. How many can I have now? It used to be 5.
Yes, we've expanded it up to 10. This one, again, was based on customer feedback where, you've got pediatric patients in particular who have a pretty heavy, family and diabetes support network, quite a few individuals, often more than just 5. And so we've expanded it up to 10 followers. And so it works in the same way as the previous version did, where you can invite your followers through your G6 app, but just now you're allowed to invite up to 10.
All right. Well, that's going to be great for, I know people who actually have to drop their school nurse every weekend and then re-add them. And that's spectacular. I know they're going to be grateful for that for sure. Okay. Now what I consider to be the big one, I'm jacked up about this. I think it's great. I can now ask Siri what my blood sugar is, and Siri tells me, and not only tells me, but it shows up on the lock screen. So first tell me, what made you work on this? Was this something people asked for, or is this something you were considering on your own?
A little bit of both. It's something that we, it's basically a hands-free feature. And so it makes it, if you're in a situation where you really, such as driving a car or something, and you don't have an Apple Watch that's as easy to glance at. So instead of having to pick your phone up, you can just ask Siri what your glucose is. The key enabling technology, though, was with iOS 12. Apple opened up the Siri shortcut, which allows us to develop, as an app developer, allows us to make a shortcut within our app that uses the Siri library. And so this feature has to be set up. It doesn't come automatic because you have to record yourself saying, Siri, what's my glucose? Each person has to do that on their own phone. And then you can set it to be able to operate when the screen is locked. You don't have to, right? So you can, if you don't want it to, Siri to be activated for this feature when the phone is locked, then you can select that. But most people want to be able to, with their own voice, ask Siri what their glucose is without unlocking their phone. So great use case for driving, or when you just quite can't pick up that phone, but you got to know. And when Siri, when you do ask for what's my glucose, Siri will repeat the glucose value and the trend arrow to let you know if it's going up or down, as well as things like urgent low alert. It'll explain you're going low. Will be expect to be 55 within 20 minutes. So there's quite a bit of information that she'll repeat to you, which is important to have.
And actually, we set it up last night. So somebody from Dexcom was nice enough to let me know what you and I'd be talking today, and so I knew it was coming out in the App Store probably before the general public, and we got it very quickly. So you have to, once you update the app, you have to go into the settings and turn on the Hey Siri functionality, and then what Jake's saying is 100% right. You have to record yourself saying it, but the great thing is you don't have to say, Hey Siri, what's my glucose? You can say anything. So if you don't want the people around you to know what's going on, you could quite easily say, Hey Siri, why are porcupines purple? And then it'll pop up and tell you what your blood sugar is. So you can, right? You can say absolutely anything you want there if you want to be private about it. Arden set hers up where she just said, BG, please. And now when she says,
Hey Siri, BG, please.
You're 76 and steady.
Pops right up on the lock screen. You get a nice, is that a 3-hour view that you get there along with the arrow and the number of the graph?
That's right. Yep.
It is. It's really well done. Congratulations. Very nice. Do you really not have a Dexcom G6 yet? Come on, people. What do I got to do here? You need to go to Dexcom.com/Juicebox right now. You hear Jake talking about the Dexcom. It's insane. Every week on this show, you hear me talk about the strides we make with my daughter's health because of the data coming back from the Dexcom G6 continuous glucose monitor. Have you not at least gone to the link and looked yet? Dexcom.com/Juicebox. That's where you're going to go to get started. Get started with what, you ask? How about sharing blood sugars? How about asking Siri what your blood sugar is? What about seeing the direction or the speed that your blood sugar is going at? How would you like to know if you're 75 and stable versus 75 and falling? Big difference, right? You've probably always wondered, how long do I need to put my pre-bolus in? Well, you know how you could find out? By putting insulin in and watching to see when the fall starts. You know how you could figure that out without testing 8 zillion times? With the Dexcom. I mean, I think this is obvious what I'm saying here. You got to go to Dexcom.com/Juicebox. You have to click on the links in your show notes or at juiceboxpodcast.com and get started today. I really cannot stress enough how important this is. Results are ours and yours may differ, but I mean, come on, you're never going to know unless you try. Buy a Dexcom, get a Dexcom. You should buy a Dexcom at Dexcom.com/Juicebox. Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. Okay, Jake, I rushed a little bit so I could throw in some extra questions, which I'm assuming you were expecting. You went over follow apps and the updates of that. Oh my God, you should see my Siri is like everything I've said to you for the last minute and a half. It's trying to answer. So
you heard her name.
Yeah, and just started recording the podcast. So follow up updates coming, this year. I wanted to ask you just very quickly. G7, I always feel weird asking about what's next when what's new is so new, but is there a timeline for G7?
Yeah, we're working hard we intend to do what we call as a limited launch, where we launch it into a market, it's smaller volume so that we can make sure everything's working the way we want it to, that we've got everything handled. We did that with G6, and we'll be doing that with our G7 product as well. That'll be around the end of 2020, so the end of next year. Okay. And then the real broad launch will be in 2021 is our plan. And so far everything is on track for that. So G7 is a new wearable, and it's all in one. So it's a completely disposable device. So there's no longer a 90-day transmitter to keep track of. Each sensor is combined along with the electronics, the transmitter, the radio, everything you need for Bluetooth, and it's all in one piece, and deployed very simply on the body with a very simple applicator, and has the same functionality that we're expecting, that customers are used to with G6, the factory calibration, the performance to be able to make diabetes treatment decisions. All of those things are part of G7, and then we also intend to extend the sensor duration with G7 beyond the 10 days of G6. Mm-hmm. So you're getting great performance in a much smaller wearable. The wearable for G7 is substantially smaller than G6 in all dimensions, but in particularly in the height. It's very low profile to the body. So still a lot of work to do on it. We still have our big clinical trials that we'll be running early next year for the device approval. But we've got a large focus, quite a few folks working on that program right now.
I have to say, I think this is the first time I've ever heard you guys give a reasonably solid date 2 years out before. So things must be going along the way you expect, which is very exciting. So basically about 2 years from now, about around the beginning of 2021, if everything goes right, G7 should be in a wide release. Is that about right? Did I get that right?
That's our plan.
That's so cool. Hey, everyone needs a plan. Hey, Health Canada has G6 now. Is that correct? You can get it in Canada? Did that just happen?
It's approved. Yep, it's approved, and I think it just happened, and so we're working through launch timing and availability of the product. But Health Canada did approve it, which is exciting, because our goal is to transition as many folks as we can as fast as possible from G5 to G6. The G6 platform.
So Canadians should very politely start bugging their healthcare providers now.
Exactly.
Is there? I know you might not be the right person because I know your research and development is your forte, but how are you guys handling product need? I mean, you're obviously growing and getting bigger, and the company's shifting. And there was a time where there was if you ordered they were like, oh, we don't have enough supplies, but that seems to have gone away now. How did you handle that? Did you open up more manufacturing, or does someone else manufacture for you? Did you just have to ramp them up? Is it a case of having to tell an outside company, look, we need more of these than we planned on, or how does that work, and why is it working now, and how are you going to keep it moving for the future?
It's a great question, Scott. It's a little bit of all those things. So the supply chain or the folks that we procure the materials for G6 from, there's some actually build what we call sub-assemblies. So they put together certain pieces. For example, there's one supplier that makes the plastic parts for the applicator and assembles the needles into them. We purchased that. The custom design, it's Dexcom design, but it's manufactured by what we call a contract manufacturer, so it's a supplier. So they make those parts, and then we bring them in and we make the sensors in-house in Dexcom facilities, either in San Diego or in Mesa, Arizona, are two locations where we manufacture sensors. And we bring the applicators in, and then we basically assemble it and put it into the packaging, all those things. So in the situation we ran into was the demand for G6 was substantially higher than we had forecasted, which is it's a good problem for a company to have, but it's not great for our users. And so we really worked hard to ensure that we could build up more capacity for G6. So really, that's what patients have seen, is that the reason it's more available is because we've added more capacity, and we're adding significantly more capacity this year than we had originally planned, because the demand for G6 is so great. So we're going to keep doing it. It's scaling both our manufacturers, our suppliers, as well as our own operations. So it's a tremendous amount of work. I call it below the waterline, right? No, customers don't see it, but we're doing everything we can to make sure we can build enough G6 to supply everybody with sensors.
Well, I really appreciate it. I will tell you that this I'm going to try to use English. This last quarter of Arden's life with diabetes may have been the most challenging in regards to her insulin needs and volatility of her blood sugar, and due in large part to the information we get back from her G6. I'm forecasting her A1C to be 5.8 when she goes in a couple of weeks. So I can't even imagine where it would be without this technology. It simply wouldn't be possible. I can't imagine how to do it otherwise.
Oh, that's incredibly. That's great news.
Yeah. No, I couldn't thank everyone enough. I was actually out in Phoenix a couple of days ago. I wish I would have realized you were so close by. I could have wandered over and said thank you in person to a bunch of people who would be like, I don't know who you are. Please get out of here. Jake, I appreciate you coming on. I'm going to let you go early, which I don't think I've ever done before. And the next time you have something you want to share, please let me know. I love it when you come on.
Great. I appreciate the time, Scott. And I look forward to doing this again in the near future.
Take care. Have a good day.
Thanks, Scott.
I don't want to ruin the surprise, but guess who's already booked Jake back on the show again? Things are happening at Dexcom. Anyway, thank you very much to our sponsors, Omnipod and Dexcom. You can go to myomnipod.com/juicebox to try a free, no-obligation demo pod today. And of course, go to dexcom.com/juicebox to get started on the Dexcom G6 continuous glucose monitor. And you know what? They weren't even part of this episode, but why not? Go to realgoodfoods.com and save 20% on your complete order by using the offer code JUICEBOX at checkout. And do not forget to go to dancingfordiabetes.com. That's dancing, the number 4, diabetes.com. Appreciate Jake coming on at such short notice to talk about the app upgrade. I hope you like this little bonus episode at the end of the week. So much easier than reading about what's on the app. Jake and I will talk to you while you're driving home. Ease of use. Not just the Omnipod and Dexcom, but the Juicebox Podcast.
You're 76 and steady.
Please don't forget, if you're enjoying the Juicebox Podcast, share it with a friend. Let somebody else know. Say, hey, this is how you get a podcast. Let me show you right here. Let me give you a link. Let me tell you the name of it. Let me walk you through it, because not everybody understands how to get podcasts. Also, if you're enjoying the show, please leave a rating and a review at iTunes. We just hit 300 ratings. Yay! Absolutely stunning. I cannot some days believe it. I know a lot of episodes went up this week, so just let me remind you that just a few days ago, the first 3 episodes of my series with Jenny Smith CDE called Diabetes Pro Tips went live. If you haven't heard them, go back. The first one's called Newly Diagnosed or Starting Over. The second one is called All About MDI, but trust me, there's more in there than just MDI. And the third is called Diabetes Pro Tip All About Insulin. There's more coming next month and the month after with Jenny. And when we're done, we're going to have a nice series that walks you through the ideas that we talk about on the podcast. Deep dives into diabetes management.